the concept of divinity and the afterlife and what might exist out there is often on many people's minds. People choose to believe in one stream of thought or another stream of thought. And in the world of darkness, this is no different. However, for the creatures that are the immortals of the night, the concept of a paradise on earth might be more tempting than an afterlife that may or may not be beneficial for them. We'll keep that in mind as we dive into Blood on the Bayou. 3 weeks ago, our coterie, indeed many of the kindred around the world, suffered an extremely unpleasant event, to say the least, as the sun, their natural and immortal enemy, seemed to have been staying up longer than it should at this time of year, which theoretically might not be that much of a problem, except for the strange call that seemed to pull them from their night sleep while the sun was still full in force. During that time, the 3 weeks that have passed since, our coterie has been busy with a number of things. Investigations taking place into the Sunrise Association, research taking place into personal issues that the coterie have been dealing with, as well as, shall we say, religious issues that some of the coterie mates might have been dealing with. This chapter of Blood on the Bayou will initially focus on a few small vignettes that take place in those 3 weeks before we catch up to the day of the 19th of December, and the 18th of December and the 19th of December 2021. We open our scene roughly a week ago in a corner of a park, which has a beautiful cottage located in it. This, of course, is the area which is now under the purview of the primogen of Clan Tsimisi, Nicola Dietrich. However, this corner of the same park belongs to one Sakura Ami, a relatively new member of the Bahari, but embracing her path quite wonderfully. Sakura, A few nights ago, you noticed that something was, shall we say, off in your corner of Louis Armstrong Park, in your garden. It seemed that there might be individuals keeping tabs on what you were doing, perhaps. There were obfuscated individuals that did not seem to be doing anything, or at least, shall we say, an obfuscated individual that did not seem to be interfering in the affairs of your Bahari acolytes. However, with the recent, shall we say, heightened state of awareness that you have put yourself in due to a bit of overzealous internet work while researching the Sunrise Association, which has put you on their radar. On this night, not one night after removing Ricky from the Fontaine house to bring him to stay here at your cottage, on returning to your abode, you see this figure again. But this time, something in you, perhaps from fear or rage at potential damage to your adopted child or something else, you are going to confront this obfuscated being which you see. And as you, in the grips of a messy critical, come rushing to tackle this obfuscated being, I would like you to make a strength and athletics roll for me, please.
Do we get any bonuses from riding the Masquerade?
No, because this is
Okay.
not a frenzy. It is just, this has become your area of focus here.
One.
All right. So, the do you have willpower that you would like to spend on that?
It's 2 dice and their blood die.
Okay, so I would say no. All right. You attempt to tackle this figure,
He's not strong or athletic.
but they move out of the way as you land face first on the ground. And getting up quickly, you see that this figure has unobfuscated themselves and is holding her hands up in a sort of plaintive, whoa, 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 calm down gesture. You see the long, blackish brown hair with a sort of elegant, very 1920s, 1930s sort of flapper style hat that she has got on her head, and some a very beautiful but functional sort of like short evening gown, as it were, not entirely built for running away or sneaking, as it were, but not completely impractical, is the form of Ellie McGowan, the primogenitor of Clan Malkavian. And she says, whoa, 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 hold up, hold up, hold up. I am not here to do anything bad, Sugar. I'm sorry, I guess.
Apologies, there's a lot going on these nights, and a cloaked figure in my garden isn't exactly a welcome sight.
Well, I appreciate that, Sugar. I'm sorry that I had to do this, but well, I have certain. There's no. You've been in my dreams almost every night for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and I wanted to try and figure out why.
Well, I'm flattered, but you could have just told.
Well, I've been trying to make sense of this place. Specifically, this has been in the dreams in the cottage here. And, well, sometimes if I look at something for long enough, I can. It's difficult to describe, Sugar. I wouldn't be able to help you really understand how it works very well, but I've been here trying to make sense of what I've been seeing.
If you care to share your dreams, I might be able to help you decipher them.
All right. I would have just told you initially, but sometimes they can worry people a bit. So usually I do that when people come to see me at my place, but this was a little bit different. So, but I'd be happy to share. Would
I
you like
have
to do
some
it?
experience with helping decipher dreams lately, so not very much can startle me.
All right. Would you like to do this here or in your abode? Or
You're welcome to come inside.
thank you, I appreciate that.
And
And
in the future, you are welcome here. Just let your presence be known, because for all I know, you could have been anyone.
that is very true. I will keep that in mind for next time. Thank you, Sugar. And you lead Ellie into your cottage. Where exactly are you taking her?
I will take her into the main, not the main living room, but the little
Hmm.
office to the side where her herd knows to leave her be if she's in there with company.
Okay.
But they're nearby enough that if she needs something, they can hear her.
Okay. Excellent. And sitting down, you are making yourselves comfortable. And Ellie has a look around the place and she says, "This is quite beautiful. I'm surprised that you were allowed to build a place here. How did you manage that?"
Are you referring to the mortal implications or the immortal implications? Because it took a bit of both.
Well, I think you answered the question just fine then.
I have
Well,
permission from the Primogen and a few connections in the mortal world.
those can be handy. Those can be handy for sure. Well, where do I start? I- In the dreams, it always starts out there in the garden. And it's nighttime, and I see the cottage and I see the gardens that you've assembled here, and everything is very quiet, and there's the sound of frogs croaking and crickets chirping, and nothing is particularly wrong per se, but then you come out and you attend into the garden, and everything starts to slowly take on just masses of blood is the best way to describe it. It's all the flowers start to be coated in blood, and the grass and the cottage and the floor, but you just keep on working and keep on tending to the garden. And all that blood pools right into that pond that you've got out there and just starts to swirl around deeper and deeper, and little whirlpool starts to form. and everything starts getting sucked right in there. And then the sound that starts to fill the air becomes really deep, like the sound of I don't know, it's uh, like the sound of gravel or some such, or heavy stones been moved by water, like ocean waves against like a real coral beach or something. And there's this deep sort of rolling sound that happens. And then there's a little, well, maybe not so little. It's difficult to judge perspective sometimes in these dreams or visions, but it's kind of like a model of some kind of spaceship. I'm not too familiar with movies, to be honest, but it's a sort of, I don't know, part round shaped, but almost like somebody's cut off a bagel at one section, and the ocean is like swirling around that, but it's not breaking it. It's sort of holding it and keeping it safe. And there's a bit more that happens at the same time. There's the, that that blood that seems to come from everywhere. It starts to kind of coat you and cover you, and then sort of seep inside you, and your eyes become very dark but filled with stars, and you become very, very big and very scary. And then there's, in one corner of the garden, a single rose, which grows into a bit of an archway. And through that archway, it looks like I see a forest, a very deep forest. And I've been trying to figure out each separate part of the stream, the meanings behind them, but sugar, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I've been seeing if I can pull threads out, but all of them seem like valid ways of doing things. But the crux of all of it is definitely tied to you as a focal point.
Some of it sounds familiar in a concerning manner. Some of it I can't quite place, but some of it is rather concerning.
Well, if you can elaborate on some things, maybe we can try and work through it together. I,
Well,
if you don't want to, that's completely fine. It's your business, and I will respect that.
I do have a question on it. When I became larger, did I retain my features or did they begin to shift?
Well, it's hard to say. You had your features, I would say, but it's alternatively you had this dark energy around you, which was sort of full of stars and redness at the same time.
I'm not my own.
Looked like you, but different. More?
Hmm. The
How?
implications might not be what I previously thought. Hmm. There's a lot to think about on it. With your permission, I might run this by a friend of mine who also experiences dreams.
If you can make sense of it, it's entirely up to you.
If I figure anything out, I will be sure to let you know. I hope you will do the same.
I will, and you should really come by, the jazz club sometime. It'll be nice to see you.
I will for sure. And she will pull out a little card with her information on it and hand it to her. Here's my number and any relevant things you might need to find me.
Thank you, and I won't be creeping around here anymore. I
Well,
promise.
you're welcome as long as you make yourself known.
Well, thank you very much. I guess I will leave you for the evening if that's all right.
And if you have any need of my services as Harpy, be sure to let me know as well.
Well, thank you. I will.
And thank you for letting me know.
You're more than welcome.
Apologies for trying to tackle you.
It's an understandable reaction, so I can't be mad about that. All right.
You have a good night.
You too, sugar. And she departs. The next scene that we zoom into is a bit of a different vibe to it. 4 of our coterie mates, well, 3 of them at least, had decided to take a trip to visit Elijah's sister in Dallas. Sakura, through her digging, through her connections on the internet and other means, and also through recollection of what had been told to her by Kenny and others, had recalled that Rich Dos Santos, Kenny's ghoul, had been turned and is somewhere with Kenny. In trying to locate more information about the Sunrise Association, at least information that might be usable on a mortal level to turn public opinion against this seemingly normal enterprise, which is ostensibly about community upliftment and social projects and ministering to youths and trying to build a happier life for people, most of the time in a Christian sense. She had sort of hit a stone wall in her research, but she knows of one person that might be able to help her. We find ourselves in a vehicle, I'm imagining. How did all of you travel to Dallas, and how are you traveling back?
Elijah normally, when he goes to see his sister, drives his SUV.
All right. In Elijah's SUV, on the road back into New Orleans, we zoom into 4 kindred: Michaela and Sakura, Elijah, and Rich Dos Santos, who has been among the unliving for just a few months now and has had some adventures of their own.
Oh, and he's so grateful. So grateful for the chance.
So, on the road, what are our kindred discussing?
Elijah's just driving, just letting them talk because he put Rich in the back seat because he's like, no, you're not messing with the console back seat.
Michaela's probably sort of like looking at her phone every now and then, but trying to talk whenever there's a discussion. But you could tell that she's very distracted. She's just checking up on her phone and then just like, yeah, sure. And then staring at her phone, even though there's no texting happening, there's no calls happening. She's just looking at her phone a lot.
Sakura is in the back seat with Rich, grilling him basically because she needs information.
Let's zoom in on that conversation.
Got
then.
it. Hi, Rich. Sorry that we're dragging you back, kind of.
Oh, it's okay.
You were
I've
way too
gotten
easy
used
to
to being
find.
kind of thrown around by this group of friends of mine.
You were way too easy to find, by the way. You should probably fix that.
Hmm.
And I found you by accident. Like I didn't even know you'd be here.
Well, you know, that's most of my life seems to be a result of very fortunate accidents. It seems.
That's fair. That's fair. So I need your help.
Yeah, you were looking for more details about Sunrise, right?
Yep, I'm trying to knock them down a peg in the public opinion to try and bring their leader down a peg in power, and they are way too clean, and I need
Yeah,
information to show they're not.
public opinion is hard. They've all the good data is not stuff we can really drop publicly. Their books are clean, their accounts are clean, their donations are clean. Everything on the front seems real up and up. They're kind of built that way, and even the process in which you get recruited is built to sort of facilitate that. You don't really know you're in it until you are, and it's by that point it's far, far too late.
Well, luckily, public opinion is one of my specialties. I just needed enough to get the ball rolling.
Right. Well, getting in it, they really get you onto this idea of benefiting, humanity as a whole. The indoctrination process, like looking back on it, might have had some sort of association with that whole neuro-linguistic programming I've heard so much about. Sort of hypnotic, maybe. I didn't know these things were possible really at the time, but now knowing about the world that we live in, it really makes me wonder what they're able to do, what they have harnessed, because they were doing things that I didn't think were possible, things I thought we were fighting against, even when I started to get a little more knowledge about what this world was like.
And if I recall correctly, you got out by accident.
Uh, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Adrian. I kind of got out. I mean, I was in it until Kenny Gould me, and then it was because of my perforated chest that I am where we are today.
Happens.
The
Yeah.
events which led to the ghouling of Rich Dos Santos were in the intervening space between our off-screen episodes and the start of book one. Kenny himself had started through his local parish trying to see what the Sunrise Association was about, as the priest of his local parish was quite worried about some of the members and had decided to distance himself from the Sunrise Association. Kenny started attending the meetings out at the ranch, which is on the way to Baton Rouge, and had made enough of a friend of Rich Dos Santos in the guise of being just a human person that eventually Rich became an asset for Kenny, an undercover asset, as Kenny had successfully marked out that Rich was indeed one of the ones that were marked for deeper recruitment. So Rich became an unwilling sleeper agent, as it were, but potentially to his benefit, as the indoctrination that takes place became very apparent to him. It also helped you to begin to uncover bits and pieces of evidence and what their plans might be, which eventually led you to the events that took place in our prologue, Thicker Than Water, in which you had discovered information about a transport vehicle that was to be transporting captured supernaturals to a facility in Denver. And you knew that people were likely onto you, and that after this you would need to disappear from the Sunrise Association. And that was Kenny's original plan until you basically lost your life.
Till I got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I regale whatever parts of that I didn't regale originally. And at the end of that, I guess, in talking about the transport truck, I don't think I was awake to witness, but I would expect in the debrief after all that I would have learned about the physical abilities of that character that was inside of the transport thing, right? Because if I remember correctly,
So
his physical abilities were quite astounding.
some of his spiritual abilities were quite impressive. The other events took place in between your stints in Dallas and your stints with Kenny himself.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess whatever, if there was any particular evidence in there that would have been useful to her goal, I would offer that over. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, or if I had that in particular. But the whole public shaming thing.
You'll give us just a moment here. Yes, there are events that have taken place outside of the scope of that. Rich. After Kenny had left New Orleans on a mission and had dropped you off in Dallas for a while to pursue other avenues of research. Occasionally, Kenny would meet up with you and bring you on missions, if you recall.
Yeah. Right. And so yes. And with that said, any evidence which is useful to this purpose, I would happily hand over.
Okay.
I'm
It depends on how much you feel Rich is going to be telling Sakura here.
well, I thought it was just to the goal of trying to just kind of stain their public image. I've given everything beyond that I'm aware of.
Sort of. There are some aspects of it which you haven't exactly told. But we can
Specifics I'm looking for would be how the Sunrise Association is getting their supplies, their weapons, anything that can incriminate them in any way for me to run with.
All right. So that information would not particularly be necessarily something that Rich himself would have had that much access to. The information that Rich is able to give you is that although he had been based in Dallas, staying with Max as far as was going, Kenny occasionally would come and retrieve Rich to take him with him on missions to Denver.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it is
So okay. So I think now I see the significance. Okay. So yeah, what information I'd be able to offer is that basically lots of their power structure seems centralized in Denver. There seems to be heavy hitters there, possible, sources of vital information and other sort of things that we could be used against them, because it seems to be sort of concentrated there.
That is
And
incredibly helpful. It helps narrow down my search.
and when just to clarify for you, as I know this is information that's for us here in Asia, it's very early in the morning, folks. So let me give Dom a helping hand here. The When Rich refers to that he has seen people doing things with physical capabilities that he wasn't sure that humans should have, those are things that he has witnessed on various missions with Kenny. Not in New York, as originally the coterie had thought, but in Denver. And there have been things that they have witnessed which seem illogical and or impossible. The ability to almost neutralize in certain occasions supernatural abilities, the ability to what seems to be generate extremely bright light from within themselves, which is as damaging as sunlight, and in physical strength and speed, which humans do not typically possess.
And Denver is where they're acquiring these powers.
It seems as if the facility in Denver is staffed with a lot of scientists and very religiously minded people and very well trained people. Whether it is their main facility or not, it is unclear, but it is one that is and has been of particular import to Kenny.
And Rich, you were part of Sunrise before Kenny found you, correct?
Yeah.
Is there anyone in particular that you want us to try and get out for you?
No, I was in there to protect people who, outside of the thing. I was in there completely. I didn't get any connections. I wasn't in there looking for him.
Everyone's bad. Got it.
Not necessarily. I don't want to say that. I sure wasn't.
I mean, debatable, no offense. No
What
one
parts I
is
can remember.
good.
So
Yeah, I'm learning that.
Yeah.
the information that Rich is able to share with you gives you a very strong understanding or idea that the Sunrise Association, as it exists in terms of a mortal entity or an official entity, is dual purpose in that it does what it says. They're a community outreach and growth foundation that does help people, but it is used as a recruitment drive for these soldiers, which seem to be linked to other associations. And it's possible that trying to discredit them on a public level might not be possible without breaching the Masquerade.
So I'd have to try to find another way to bring down his faith.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rich. This information is very helpful.
I do my best.
Very good. All right. So, as the road trip continues and you begin making your way back into the city of New Orleans, we are going to jump to another short vignette before we get to everyone all together. We zoom into an evening after time spent healing. At this stage, any of those aggravated wounds which had been left on you would have been healed by you by now. Time spent with Nikolai and Quinn. We zoom into a facility there, perhaps one of Nikolai's private offices there at the Tulane Medical University. As Nikolai has been trying to conduct research of many different kinds and wants the input and advice of a fellow scientist, one that is particularly skilled with blood.
Mr. Hamish, I appreciate you joining me this evening. I had some details that I wanted to discuss with you.
Excellent. What kind of details?
Well, as I understand it, you've been engaging in a fair amount of experimentation, in particular with blood of different kinds. I understand that this is, from my rudimentary knowledge, something that is a little more commonplace amongst your kind of kindred.
I suppose I don't know a lot of I don't know a lot of other kindred like me, so forgive me if I'm not too knowledgeable about what may be common or not. But yeah, it's been I found myself able to do some interesting things with my own blood, and then that led me to think, I wonder what I could do with other types of blood. I've seen creatures that can do all sorts of things, and it's led to some interesting discoveries. Although there have been some difficulties, mostly just in it doesn't seem to. I mean, it keeps for a long time, but I'm not able to make very much of it. It's I'm trying to crack the code on I wouldn't say mass production, but expanded production, as it were, because only having a handful of it available at any given time, while useful for me, may not be as useful to what I'm looking to do.
Very enterprising of you. I wonder, in your time doing these experiments, I understand that you've experimented with your own blood and with different flavors of blood as well. However, as your work brought you to the point where you've begun to experiment with Vitae?
A little bit. It's hard to get a lot of volunteers, as it were, for that type of thing. My mind's a little foggy of late, as we've been a little bit busy and things have been chaotic uh, after being, spending a little too much time in the sun. Ill-fated tanning excursion in my living room, but that's okay. It's water under the bridge, as it were. But yeah, no, I can't. I believe I've had a few donations. I can't remember quite from where right now. But yes, finding some new sources of vitae, or I guess I should say kindred blood, have been something I've been interested in for a while, because I know what I can do with mine and my limited supply. Um, I'm excited to think of what might be possible with something a little more potent.
Indeed, there are so many interesting permutations and interactions, shall we say, that the blood can produce. It's an astounding substance, really,
Oh
once
yes.
you start diving into it. Perhaps I might be able to assist you, and you, in turn, might be able to assist me in some research that I've been looking into. How much are you aware of the mystical proclivities of the kindred?
I've seen individuals do some interesting things. Um, so far, I can only really speculate. I've seen well, we've been around to see some, even in just recent times, very outstanding things, both from kindred and, in one instance, non-kindred. Not sure exactly what he was. Um, but I mean, if we exist, then I'm sure uh, there's a litany of other things out there as well.
Quite.
But yes, yes, I'm excited to explore new avenues.
Well, a particular avenue has been of interest to me, in particular as a result of recent developments. Specifically, the mix of the way our vitae seems to compel allegiance, as well as ancient, for lack of a better term still, mystic facets that can engage and interact with this. You're familiar with the blood bond, yes?
I've heard people speak of it.
Well, something that you may not be aware of in your limited time, and shall we say limited reach to all corners of the night, there's another type of bond that can be established with the blood. A type of bond that I unfortunately find myself restricted by. And this is something that I would seek to change.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure with the right blood and enough time, we could we could find out all sorts of miraculous things. Possibly even a solution to your problem.
Indeed, that is at least in part my hope. However, as a fellow scientist, I understand that it is possible this avenue will prove fruitless for my own endeavors. However, as I said, potentially this could be mutually beneficial. And as a fellow scientist, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was intrigued by your research and the things that you've been able to accomplish. It makes me understand why many out there fear and distrust your kind. As such, and Nikolai will get up from the seat that he has in his lab, because he would have invited Quinn specifically to the lab at Tulane. He's going to walk over and grab a couple pieces of equipment, and he's going to go ahead and draw, we'll say, 3 vials of Vitae from his veins, and seal them up and produce them to Quinn. I'd like you to take a look at this and see if you might be able to dig out any interesting information to me. Over the past few weeks, as we've been dealing with everything else that we've been charged with to maintain the status quo here in NOLA. I've also been digging into details about something called the Valdery and the bonds that it produces, known as viniculi. This is the best way to describe it in simple terms is that it is a seemingly mystical process that allows for, rather than a individual bond to be formed through the Vitae, rather it forms a communal hive bond amongst numerous individuals. And from what I understand, it is supposedly, and I do emphasize supposedly, nigh impossible to break this bond. Now, in my studies, I have come across a few interesting possible avenues that I might explore. Certainly none of them come without consequence. But I want to make sure before I take such a drastic leap that I have all the pieces on the table, that I can be aware of the grander picture that I'm looking at. I certainly wouldn't want to jump to an option with more dire consequences than, say, another avenue. So I would be curious to see what you might be able to dig up from that Vitae.
That sounds like an interesting proposition indeed. That would be, oh, the applications are, the potential is, oh, it's almost, whew, if I could be flush, I would. It's exciting. It's very exciting. I will say though that I may need to use your lab or some other, because there's a little accident in my apartment and it's not great right now. I don't know and it may be compromised, for lack of a better word.
I'll speak with my associates and get you clearance for the time being.
I believe you have better equipment here anyway, so perhaps we'll produce better results.
The university does have some very impressive inventory. Certainly you can make use of it. Now, two more things.
Sure.
First of all, and I believe this probably goes without saying, however, it would be prudent of me to stress this matter. Word of this does not leave this laboratory.
Well, I'm used to keeping a tight ship. I did used to work for DARPA, so.
Indeed, and I would stress that you take the same level of care with this situation as you would with the work you did there. I'd even prefer it if you didn't discuss this with the Katori.
It's not really in their wheelhouse anyway, so I'm sure it wouldn't interest them.
And it still remains up in the air whether these things that we're looking into are things that it may be best that most kindred find themselves ignorant of.
Well, they don't like me anyway, so I don't usually have much reason to talk to most kindred.
I can certainly understand that. You are an intriguing specimen.
Why, thank you.
Now, as for the other matter, and he's going to go ahead and make sure that the blind to the one entry into the lab is actually pulled shut at this point. And then we'll head over to his desk, and he's going to pull open a drawer and produce a small chalice and a dagger. I need to make sure that you actually understand the process of which I'm attempting to alleviate myself from. And while I'm not going to subject you to it, I am going to walk you through the steps. And Nikolai will go ahead and begin walking Quinn actually through the process that one would use to conduct a Valdery.
Quinn, you may roll an intelligence, and usually I would say occult, but I'm going to let you do intelligence plus blood alchemy, just to see how well you understand
Okay.
these first steps. And I will say, as Nikolai is used to explaining things, you can add 2 dice for his demonstration.
Six successes.
You memorize the steps very well. You know, you are used to how labs work, and for you, this is just you're categorizing it as preparing a sample. But you are well aware of how this process would work, and you take down notes in your own specific shorthand to help you remember all the steps. So this will definitely help you in any research that you might want to undertake.
Great. Quinn's all ears because, like I said, even he's like a kid in a candy store when it comes to learning and learning everything there is to know about like all the new supernatural stuff he comes across. Because before this happened, he's a scientist, and yeah, sure, like they were doing some interesting research into potentially animating bodies, although he didn't have the supernatural side of things. once this kind of curtain was pulled back, he was like,
More research. Exactly. All right. Excellent. And with that vignette, short vignette taken care of, we are going to jump forward a bit in time, and I will give a bit more of a preamble as to where we are currently. In the background, over the course of the weeks and months, now Coterie has also been busy taking care of Prince Madeline's edict, finding ways in which they are able to use their own resources and their own wits to take down this pipeline that was mentioned. Several quite beneficial turns of events have taken place. One such being that through Sakura's influence and through Elijah's artistic influence, a number of First Peoples organizations which are performing different artistic ventures and expressional ventures in order to help assist raise money for stopping this pipeline that is threatening a lot of natural land, have been greatly benefited by Elijah and Sakura's work to promote this work internationally, to help these artists be recognized for their talents. And it is in New Orleans itself on this evening, which would be the evening of the 18th of December, that one of these fundraisers is taking place in the Regency Hyatt Hotel, which is the domain of the primogen of Clan Toreador, Matthias Larson. The event is taking place in Nirvana, which is a club to most unknowing people that is placed within inside the Regency. The coterie and their guests for a week or two have arrived at the Regency Hyatt in New Orleans in the Warehouse District. And they are going to be making their way into Nirvana shortly. How is everyone attired for the evening? Elijah, it is ostensibly your event.
He's wearing his favorite white suit. The shirt underneath is a little on the sheer side of the fabric, so it's a little bit like barely there, but there nonetheless. His accessories, he's favored a red, because he heard that Kira was also going to wear white, and he was like, "No, I have to stand out," and has like just trying to be the preening peacock he normally is because he's getting attention.
Michaela would be wearing the dress that Elijah's sister made for her. It is very flowery. So it's the red top is very red. It has roses, like roses petals on it, and then it flows down with a nice sort of like pink, dark pink with on the side it has all kinds of flowers printed on. It looks really pretty on her, but she only wore this because she wanted to show Elijah thanks for taking her to visit her sister, to visit his sister, and to just um enjoy the fundraiser. So that's what she's wearing this evening.
So Sora, as indicated, they reached out to Sakura because they technically only had one decent hoodie. Not the by decent is a fantastic hoodie by Elijah's sister. And so they didn't really have too much of other clothes. And when it came to more prestige attire, they wanted to do something a bit different. So they asked Sakura to fashion them a form-fitting hoodie of all white design and white fitting pants. So as Elijah mentioned, they are coming in with this fantastic white hoodie that definitely insinuates the muscular curves along their physique. They still definitely have it's zipped down, so it's not fully zipped down, but just a quarter inch that kind of reveals a bit of the pecs. And they also have of course, the white pants and boots, and they of course will be coming in. Fortunately, with the brand new that hasn't been released 350Z Nissan. That's what they're driving into.
Sakura, being one of the big environmentally friendly names at the fundraiser after putting her name forward on Twitter, she is wearing a handmade dress that she made using silk scraps to prevent them from going to landfills. So it's a just very a pink in a sort of like patchwork silk dress. I put it on Twitter because I actually drew it. But that's what she is wearing.
Lovely.
Nikolai is, as usual, wearing a suit. This evening, he's actually got instead of the red shirt, he's got a deep purple shirt that he is actually wearing. Black necktie, suit coat, vest, black dress slacks. So predominantly in black, but with the deep purple accent. He is also wearing a pair of cufflinks that were a gift from Elijah. So mostly covered by the suit coat for the vast majority of the time, since he is keeping a fairly light and casual stance. He would have also advised all of the Katori before arriving tonight that he would be under the guise of Andre at the event, since that is actually the name in which he has been conducting all of his efforts in association to the project. So he's at this point a known benefactor to various politicians who have been working against the pipeline and things like that. So he is coming under the guise of Andre this evening.
How is
Does
Quinn
that leave me?
dressed up?
Okay.
And was Rich? Either one?
Quinn doesn't. Well, in the past, he hasn't been getting too dressed up, but uh, he figured that he might wear, something a little more normal on this outing, and so he's going to come in a decent looking suit, black suit with, black shoes, but he's going to be wearing a red shirt with a black tie.
I imagine currently you are staying with Sakura, if I am
Yeah,
correct.
he may have found some new threads in the closet.
Yeah, I imagine Sakura probably helped you out.
Says,
there.
"You're not wearing that again. Put on this."
So yeah, third day of a row in the same outfit, and you were it was thrown away, and you were given a new wardrobe. This
Quinn
cannot
hasn't
stand.
changed out of the lab clothes in like 3 weeks. He's just
Yeah, no, not in
Just
my
like
house.
peels it off of his skin.
Not in my house. My house, you look nice.
I
I'm
have to look at you.
imagining Rich is probably wearing. I like the idea of doing some sort of dark purple, almost looks more black than dark purple, but just a full-on corduroy suit. Why
get
not?
those hints of purple just under the right lights, essentially.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
Like with
right.
velvet, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
It's
Alright,
yeah.
very nice. You all begin to make your way into the hotel and make your way up to the set of floors that is just demarcated and being used for the Nirvana Club. And even as you had arrived outside, you saw that there had been sort of red carpet style affairs that were set up and ushers towards the correct elevator, and there are local media representatives taking photos and taking images and live streaming these things, etc. As this is a large fundraiser, it is not just for kindred; it is for mortals with money as well. And you begin to enter into the club. Elijah is here every so often for various reasons. And the interior has been shuffled around somewhat in terms of that some of the seating has been changed. The main reason for this is that there are a number of art pieces that are actually on display here in the club itself that people are able to purchase on and to bid on, as it were. The interior of the club itself, there are lots of tones of white and marble white everywhere. It is a very interesting combination between, shall we say, Greco-Roman temple and modern Roman Catholic basilica in design, but also very sleek, very modern. When there are window pieces and light pieces, they are very much in a style of being stained glass, as it were. It is tastefully done and very beautiful, and definitely speaks of decadence. There are many people around here enjoying sort of like music that is playing. The bar is obviously there for people to purchase the drinks from. There are 3 floors to this nightclub, as it were, and the highest floor is, most people are unaware of exactly how to get up there. It is a special VIP area which is used for other purposes.
Just one quick question: is this the location where Sora sells one of their first masterpieces at, or is that a different location?
Timeline wise,
Because
uh,
I remember what was
I'm gonna have to double check that, but we can probably say that this could be that event, sure.
because there's supposed to be 2, one for at
Yes.
the end, and yeah, so it makes sense. All right, okay, so so they will come in, looking aside. I'm presuming they will see Elijah. Where would Elijah be at in this location?
That's a good question.
No idea.
Well,
He's
there
probably retrieved a beverage of some sort, just sees Sora and just goes,
Damn it, not again.
Wait, towards or away is important.
So when they see Elijah, it's like, oh, Elijah, wait, come on, hold on a second. they don't. They're
we
not
need to
really.
have a discussion.
Wait.
Matt, come with me.
Wait, where are we going? Okay, okay. Wait, what happened? What is this discussion? I was going to say thank you for allowing me to put my painting here.
Oh, you're welcome for that. Why are you in white?
Because I'm chocolate, and white looks really good on chocolate people.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, we're both, and this is weird, and I'm oh my gosh.
Wait, is Is this like a no-no in a Toreador society or something?
It's like showing up wearing the exact same outfit.
What's wrong
Oh
with
God, Sakura can't see this.
that? What's wrong
Neither
with
can
that?
Michaela. I'm gonna get shit forever.
Wait, what's wrong with wearing the same? We're not wearing the same. I'm wearing a hoodie. You're wearing a suit. But what? Even if we were wearing the same uniform clothing, I guess, which I wouldn't be able to fit in a suit. I would probably break it. Why? Why would it be a bad problem? Why would it be an issue?
It's a fashion faux pas.
Okay, do you have so Sakura also seems to have all of these magical rules that's supposed to be associated with clothing. Do you happen to have like a Bible clothing or something like that I could just read through so therefore I could understand? Because otherwise, how would I know about this? I don't understand this.
I will send you some books.
Yes, I would gladly appreciate it. With that said, I actually like the fact that we both are wearing white because I'll be honest, when I was going through my changes, you were a major inspiration as I was going through stuff. So it was nice. Why are you doing that?
I need to go find Kolya.
Before Elijah walks away, seeing this situation and seeing Elijah very flustered, Michaela decides to what's the word I'm looking for? Mess with them. So she takes out her jacket that is like a leather jacket, but it's all white, and she puts it on and zips it up so that her dress is like the dress looks like a skirt now, and she's wearing this nice white leather jacket and walks up to Elijah and Sakura. Hey, twinsies!
Oh yes. Hi, how are you
Oh, we
doing?
wearing white. I can go change.
Yeah, apparently.
Wait. So it's not a
No,
fashion
no,
taboo.
no,
Okay.
I'm not doing this tonight. I'm not doing this tonight.
In my defense, Elijah, I tried to tell you that Sora was doing the thing with white, and you didn't.
You know I didn't, and I regret my decisions in life now. I need
I
something
gave
stronger
you
than this.
warning.
Where's Cole? Where is Andre? God, I'm gonna hate calling him Andre this entire night.
While everyone is here, as this is, the start of a new night for us and everyone, let's take care of just two pieces of housekeeping. So everyone, remember that your willpower has reset as this is a new night, and you can all make your rouse check
Ooh.
to see how hungry you are this evening. And once you have done that, everyone can make a wits and awareness roll for me just to see who all you spot here, mortal or kindred or otherwise.
Well, I
Simpson
made
scene is
my
up.
rouse check, so I'm not hungry.
Okay.
Quinn's a little hungrier. He's
All right.
he's
With
hungry.
only a 2, the fact that people are starting to show up in white has freaked him out.
Nikolai's good on hunger, and with his feeding proclivities, that probably means he's still at 0.
Fair enough. I will allow that. Rich?
Hunger is good, and then 2 successes on the wits and awareness.
Yeah,
Two
so
successes and wits and awareness. Two
Michaela has
successes.
4 successes on wits and awareness.
Okay.
I'm spending a willpower on wits and awareness.
Sakura, would you also roll the sentient scene?
Yeah, I failed my hunger, which puts me up to 2. I roused wits and failed, which puts me up to 3, and got 4 successes.
Okay.
5 with a crit.
So you're rolling,
Oh,
the
sweet.
rolling the Bahari lifestyle tonight. That's great.
Looks like we're twinsy at that aspect. I'm also 5 with the crit.
Nice.
5 with the crit and 4 with the crit. How about Rich there? You got 2. All right. And Elijah, I can't remember what did you get. 2. All right. So Elijah, you are thrown off entirely by everyone suddenly wanting to wear white in your coterie, and it is it's irritating the hell out of you. So you are trying to focus your attention on finding Andre for this evening. You do manage to spot Andre. Quinn and Rich, There's not too many people that Rich would know here still, because this, in terms of society wise, the people who are here had a lot of money. And when Rich was alive and living here, he did not have a lot of money. And Rich never got the chance to actually meet any of the other kindred here. So Rich doesn't really know anyone here. You do manage to spot, whoever you came with, you spot all of them. Quinn,
Do I recognize Rich?
of course. I mean, yes. I'm not sure who Rich came with this evening, but as he had been brought by Sakura, and I imagine that Sakura and Quinn and Rich likely came together, as Sakura was the one who wanted Rich to come to New Orleans for a while.
Sakura offered him a room at the cottage, so if he took
Yes.
it, they would have seen each other there.
Okay,
Yes, I
Rich, you look
imagine
much
that.
better than you did last time I saw you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no. Oh.
So Quinn and everyone except Elijah, just because of your focus on looking for Andre at the moment, would definitely spot the still dressed in very 90s raver type clothing, but different in her idea of I should wear this to a formal event. You definitely spot that Jezebel is around. Those of you that had 4 and higher, you would also spot that there are a number of sort of like local celebrities around. You would also spot that Ellie is here this evening, Ellie McGowan. You would definitely spot that Annette has come this evening, so Annette is around, busy schmoozing as well. It's very easy for you to. Actually, I'm going to say, even those of you who rolled a 2, it's impossible for you not to see Matthias. There's just no way anyone can ever miss that man. Sakura, with the sense the unseen up, there is something interesting that catches your attention, and it's like it radiates from Matthias, because you rolled quite well. It sort of radiates from Matthias a bit. To your sight, it appears to be a slight golden glow. But what's interesting is that you follow with that thread, that golden glow, you see that there's like a light thread that comes out of it, a couple of light threads of this golden glow. And you see that it touches a few people in the crowd, and you follow one of the threads, and it seems to actually link to Elijah. And there's takes you a bit of focus, but there's a tiny bit of that light glow inside Elijah as well. You're not sure what it is.
Elijah,
And
Elijah, you're glowing.
I know, I'm wearing white.
No, like literally.
Keeps just moving. He's just like, no, I need to get away.
And with the 5 with a crit as well, something that both Sora and Nikolai notice, and it would be hard for them not to notice. Gosh, I have to pull up the right window here. Too many windows.
All the windows.
Welcome to Windows
Where the
6055.
heck oh, there it is. All right. In a just absolutely stunning white, sort of almost snakeskin type outfit, which is skin tight. It's an evening dress, but also dressed all in white. Absolutely beautiful in contrast to the exceptionally long, dark hair. Walking and looking at the paintings and the other art pieces with expert eyes is the figure of Nikolai's packmate, Maria Elena. But she's walking around, noticing the paintings, and drinking out of a martini glass, something that might be a Bloody Mary.
Sora will look at Maria and look towards Andre to see if Andre spots Maria. And then I'm presuming I noticed that they're able to catch that she's here as well. And so when I do, I approach Andre and say, how do you want to handle this?
At the moment when Sora would intercept him, knowing that his appearance as as Andre is actually different than his appearance as Nikolai, because he does make use of his signature powers of vicissitude to reinforce his false identities further. He's the key factor that probably gives him away right now is the obvious predator facet of Nikolai. So he has actually begun. He's keeping at a distance in the party, but he is at this point following Maria through the party, but kind of doing like a wolf pacing around the outskirts of something that it's considering attacking. He'd look over to Sora and say, we're going to have to see how this plays out. It's her move first.
Well, just let me know when things we decide to implement a plan. I'll be here. And something tells me they're not here for just a good time.
Usually not. And keep an eye on that one. And Nikolai will kind of nod in the direction of Jezebel.
Oh, okay.
You are making your way and sort of tailing in a casual-esque but difficult with your obvious predator ways the form of Maria as she does stop and she looks at paintings on occasion, and it let me make another roll here. A question for you as while I make this roll, you would probably be more aware of this than I. How effective is this face of Andre? And is this one that Jezebel would have seen before?
Would Jezebel or Maria?
Jezebel.
Jezebel has definitely seen it before because I was posing as Andre for a good chunk of season 1, and I believe, if memory's serving me correctly, we had an interaction or two with Jezebel while I was still posing as Andre.
You did, yes, and you are currently owing Jezebel.
Oh.
It's true.
Something, yes. So, as you are tailing Maria, you actually hear it's like, oh my god, Andre, it's been. You didn't answer my letter. I was trying to get Annette to like talk to you or whatever, and then I like spoke to Sakura, and then I spoke to Elijah, and like Elijah's always in a bad mood, but I kind of like him anyway. He's a little bit hot. But the thing is like I wrote you like a letter, and you never like wrote back. I was in this place for like a week or something, which sounds like a dessert. But I can't even remember what it was called. But Annette sent me there, but basically like I'm just I've been trying to like get in touch with you because I have got like stuff to talk to you about, like important things.
If he could sigh, he would. And if he cared to put up charades, he would. Because I will point out that Nikolai's not using the blush of life this evening, so he does look sickly. And anyone paying close attention to him would potentially piece together that, he doesn't blink, he doesn't seem to be breathing. But obviously, those are things you'd have to be looking really closely for. So he's not terribly afraid of breaching the masquerade in this instance, since people are focused on the party. So he would sigh if he had any proclivity to do so. But he'll shake his head. You know full well how to get a hold of me in more direct manners than having to skirt around bothering others. It's unbecoming.
Well, like the thing is, right? Like we're supposed to be like really, really careful with stuff right now. So that's why I thought I'd write like a letter or whatever. Like, and usually I would just like show up somewhere or like call you on, I don't know, that pager thing that you use, which by the way, we've got to update that. That's horrible. But, because kind of like I'm here because like I thought maybe I'd cash in on that little favor you owe me because, yeah, I need some help.
Splendid. I'd be more than happy to conclude our previous business. However, I don't believe this is the most appropriate of venues.
Why? It's nice. It's pretty.
He'll shake his head slightly. Let's step outside and get some air. And he's going to go ahead and start making his way to the exit.
Very good. All right. So, Jezebel does follow you towards the area outside. We will come back to that in just a second with Michaela. With your 4 successes on your perception and awareness. You, out of the corner of your eye, with all these other people that you have seen, you notice in a way that feels like you shouldn't have noticed, but you notice the flash of a man in a beautifully tailored suit with lovely blackish brown hair and beautiful red shirt that he is wearing. And you recognize this figure as being Lucifer.
Nice.
But it feels as if this was directed at you. It's very quick, and it is going up the stairs to the 2nd level.
Before I follow, because I will, what is up in the 2nd level?
So usually the 2nd level has a bit more of a view of the dance floor, and there are more like lounge type atmosphere up there. A lot of that is still up there during this evening, but it is also, some of the seating and stuff has been replaced so that there are more art pieces and stuff that are on display up there.
All right, so Michaela follows, just out of curiosity, and she doesn't feel endangered whenever she's around Lucifer. She just finds him a curious thing, so she follows.
Okay. You follow, and eventually you do find him standing in front of an art piece that is very reminiscent of the style of Titian's de Bacchanal, but it is more as if somebody interpreted that style as a very intense kind of manga style on a canvas, but you can see it. It is all done in different forms of charcoals and all these natural elements as well, like ochre and all these things. So it has a very raw and rough feel to it, where from a distant perspective, it might look as if it is, this sort of orgiastic fey enjoyment of nature, etc. But when you come up closer, you notice that the details are designed to be purposefully obscured from a distance, but up close, it is hidden in there are scenes of violence against nature, violence against uh, people that are different from the majority of people within this picture. It is a piece which is supposed to represent and evoke the outside image of the world as opposed to what the actual reality of things are when you look up close.
Okay.
And he is having a look at this painting and has a drink in his hand.
I approach him and I look at it and I look at the picture at the art piece and I say, "Hey, does this remind you of something?"
Yes, actually, it's you've been around for a while, not as long as I have, but I don't know if you have those. Have you ever tried to remember something, but you're not sure if the memories that you have are how they should be, or a distortion of what you think they were?
Almost always.
Hmm.
There are certain things that I believe are true, but I have I'm let's just say I understand what it means to lie.
Hmm. I understand that.
Yeah. As the
I
father of lies, I would have expected.
well, as a difficult one to find the right words to talk around it. Um, but uh, you are here for a reason, are you not?
Well, um, I feel like you were trying to get my attention.
I was.
Be- hmm. Is it because you think out of everybody in the coterie, I would be the one that would believe you or help you the most?
I have to start somewhere. Yes.
Interesting.
And I could feel that you were thinking about me and reading in those manuscripts that you're given.
Hmm.
Again, memory is a difficult thing, and I'm sure that you have read some accounts of what people think took place between myself and your mother.
Yeah. She doesn't like you very much.
I I don't even know if it's that, to be honest.
Hmm.
I remember leaving.
That'll do it.
I remember birthing stars with her. And I remember immeasurable wrath. But I don't know what the wrath was about or when it was. There's a lot that mixes together.
Hmm.
But I don't know why I left her.
Maybe you were trying to protect her. Maybe you had some things to do. I understand what it's like to be left behind. I understand the anger.
Hmm. Yes. That is, I believe, why many of my previous brothers and sisters have such an intense dislike of me. But that's another story entirely. I've been thinking about you. If I could give you what you want, would you help me?
Do you know what I am?
Yes.
What I truly am, not the face that I show to everyone.
Yes. It's a gift of mine to know the nature of things.
See, I think I know what I am. I think I've been pretending to be something else for so long that I don't know if that thing that I really am is truly what I am. There's a lot of things going around in my mind, but here's another thing that I don't know. I don't know what I want. Are you able to tell what I want?
I cannot work like that,
Hmm.
but an expression of your desire is something that I can work with. What it
Then,
sounds like to me is that you want to know or be what you want to be, to
yeah,
choose that.
yeah, that might be similar. You heard a name in my mind the
Yes.
last time we spoke.
Yes, I remember.
I don't know what I want, but I do know it involves him.
I can work with that.
This isn't me making a deal with you. This is me giving you a chance. Does that make sense?
All right.
If you're able to bring him, then I will give you a chance and maybe I will help you. That's the best that I can do for now.
Agreed on one condition. You let me show you something.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So, me gently touches you on the shoulder, and your mind is full of the sound of chanting and the sound of screaming, and a large, deep pit opens up in your vision. You see beings around it, which you can tell are kindred, but they seem to be chanting and occasionally pouring some of their own vitae into this pit where there are screams emanating from it. And occasionally people are brought into this pit in various states and thrown into it. And I won't get into too many details, but they're not in very good states at all. And the chanting rises and swells, and you see walking along a corridor a figure which you recognize to be the figure of Brian Davids, but at this point in time, shirtless and wearing what appears to be some form of white skirt that goes down to his ankles. Large black and red wings sprouting from his back. His eyes are glowing with a deep green color, and the sounds of the chanting and swelling rise more as these kindred that are around the pit begin to shake their hands in the air, and you hear that the screaming stops, and then there's a massive rush of green light that pours out from this deep, deep pit. And you feel slash see all around the world your friends, people you don't know, Guru, mages, other beings like satyrs, their bodies begin to convulse and shake and fill with this green light. And the pain and fear and terror of it is immense. And then you're brought back, and you hear a voice in your head. If I can't stop him, that's where it leads. You feel yourself calm down, and you hear your phone ringing.
I look at the phone and see who's calling.
It is an unknown number.
She picks it up. Hello?
You look beautiful tonight. And that is where we will end our story for this evening.
Look in the mirror, is that what you saw? You act like a diamond, you act like a star. You can't control feelings, the look of the sun. I'll see through the eyes of a human at all. Oh, that's when I told you that you sold yourself. Clouds are raining, scarecrows ain't scaring, the music's reflecting, nothing at all. Your lips are shaking, your skin is shedding. Oh,